Good afternoon and welcome to all of you and DOT staff and the public that joining us this afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Transportation Draft 2027-2030 Statewide Transportation Improvement Program Public Information Meeting. My name is Rose Tuka. I'm the Transportation Supervising Planner with the STIP unit. And with me this afternoon, I have STIP unit staff, Steve Giannetti, Blake Bauer, and also there are several DOT staff available here to address any question that might pertain to their respective offices. Some of you reached out directly, so we invited people that will address your question. Now, the STIP is prepared in compliance to civil rights. So the next few slides that will follow will be civil rights slides. I'm kind of distracted because we have a hand raised, if you can see it, and I'm going to pull it down right here. Thank you. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin be excluded from participating or subject to discrimination in the development of the STIP. Now, if you want to volunteer for post-meeting survey, you can use this portal, or you can bring out your phone and do this QR code. It will lead you to that post-meeting survey. And for more civil rights information, you can go to this portal. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the DOT's YouTube channel after the event. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, are available on Zoom and YouTube. Now, again, the STIP is developing compliance to Title VI, and this is the Department of Transportation Title VI notice to the public. And if you need more information on the CTDOT Civil Rights Program and the procedure to file a complaint, please contact the CTDOT Title VI coordinator at 860-594-2169 TR711 or email deborah.goss@ct.gov or visit our administrative office that is in the headquarters here. You can also visit the DOT website for more information. And here's the Spanish translation of the civil right. Now, how to view the caption and subtitle in Zoom. For those of you that are in Zoom, click Show Caption, click the speaking language, select the language you would like from the list shown. Closed captioning, including non-English translation option, are available on CTDOT YouTube channel after the event. And how to answer question, the Q&A on Zoom. Select the Q&A tool at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. The Q&A window will open as seen on the right. Please select the question. Please type the question in the text box and click enter. Now, if you are an audio-only participant, dial *9 to raise your hand and lower your hand. What is the STIP? The STIP is a 4-year financial planning document that lists all projects expected to be funded either in part or fully with federal funds within those 4 years. The 5th year is strictly future year investment which the department added for your information to show future needs beyond the 4 years. The STIP has been developed in accordance with the terms and provision of the federal regulations, such as the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, known as the AJA, and the Clean Air Act Amendment of 1990. Among other criteria, the STIP must be developed every 4 years, list projects in priority order, and be financially constrained by year. Projects listed in the STIP must come from conforming state long-range plan and metropolitan transportation plan. The STIP is a multimodal document which includes investment in various transportation modes, including transit, highway, freight, pedestrian walkways, and bicycle. The STIP is developed in accordance with the Title 23 of the United States Code. It is developed in cooperation and consultation with the 8 metropolitan planning organizations, you will hear me refer to them as MPOs, and the 2 rural council of government referred to as rural COGs throughout the state. The STIP is a continual process. Our office initiates the process by requesting from the Bureau of Finance and Administration the list of projects intended to be federally funded within the next 4 years. Finance and Administration, in cooperation with engineering and construction, highway operation, and public transportation, will generate lists of projects and forward it to our office. Using this list, our office would develop a draft list of projects to be forwarded to the MPO to review and comment and consider in developing their draft TIP. MPO reviews and considers these projects, and they will forward back to our office comments, suggestions, inputs that they have. All MPO comments and suggestions will be addressed. This list is put together incorporating all inputs from the MPO and is also sent to Travel Demand and Air Quality Modeling Unit to start the air quality conformity process, which is a federal requirement. Our unit will develop the draft STIP with consideration to the comments from the MPO and changes forwarded from the MPOs as well. The state and the MPO will hold their public meeting respectively. A 30-day comment period on the draft TIP and the STIP is allowed for the public review and comments. MPOs must endorse their TIP and forward it to our office. Upon receipt of all MPOs endorsed TIPs, we compile all the TIPs and the statewide transportation, we compile all the TIPs, the comments without modification to come up with the final statewide transportation improvement program. Comments received during the public comment period are reviewed, addressed, and may be incorporated in the final draft STIP. The final draft STIP is sent to FHWA and FTA for their approval. There are 3 sources of funding available for the STIP projects. The primary source of funds is federal funds, federal highway, or federal transit funds. Example of these funds under the Infrastructure Investment and Job Act, the AJA, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the bill. Example of these programs are National Highway Performance Program, Surface Transportation Program, National Highway Freight Program, Highway Safety Improvement, Transportation Alternative Program, Congested Mitigation and Air Quality, FTA Capital Programs, and FTA Operating Programs. A brief description of all the programs can be found in the draft STIP narrative, which is available at the back table over there. The major source of state fund consists of legislative apportionments of bond funds supported by revenue from the state's Special Transportation Fund, which includes sales and use tax, motor fuel tax, oil companies tax, motor vehicle receipts, license permit fee revenue, and highway use tax. There is limited amount of state funds, limited amount of local funds to match some of these projects. Again, the programs are listed. We have them printed on the back for your review. This is the financial plan for the 2027-2030 STIP at glance. The draft STIP is for fiscal year 2027 and 2030 through 2030 contains over 380 projects statewide, programming approximately a total of $5.5 billion. Now, out of that $5.5 billion, $4.5 billion of that is federal funds, matched by approximately $932 million in state funds and approximately $45 million in local funds. Again, for a total program cost of approximately $5.5 billion. Now, breaking it down a little further, $3.4 billion, which is approximately 75% of that money, will be used for highway and bridge capital programs. And $1.1 billion, which is approximately 24%, will be used for transit, that is rail, bus, and rideshare capital and operating costs. $13.8 million of the total funds is for public transportation operating assistance. And here are the list of some of the major projects that is found in the 2027-2030 draft STIP. And we have that list in the back too. For all the projects listed in the draft STIP in response to the Clean Air Act of 1970, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, established the National Ambient Air Quality Standard, the NAAQS, for various pollutants, including ozone and its precursor, volatile organic compounds, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, and carbon monoxide. The conformity process ensures that transportation projects contained in Metropolitan Transportation Plan and Transportation Improvement Plans meet the goal of the NAAQS by means of each state's statewide implementation plan known as the SIP. EPA has designated certain area of the country where the NAAQS has been exceeded. These are called non-attainment area. Connecticut is presently in non-attainment for ozone and in maintenance for PM 2.5, thus necessitating conformity analysis for these pollutants in their respective area. Conformity determination for ozone and PM 2.5 are found in document entitled Connecticut Department of Transportation Conformity Determination Report, February 2026. The program and plan we have found to be in conformance. And this report also is in the back table if you want to grab one for your review. In compliance to the civil rights and the Title VI, there has to be a public review process. The final draft STIP has been made available for public review from May 13th, 2026 to June 12th, 2026, which is the end of our public comment period. Ads have been placed in several Connecticut major daily newspapers, notifying the public of the availability of the draft STIP for their review and comment. The draft STIP is available for review online at www.ct.gov/dot.stip. It is also available for review at various local council of governments, and of course here. Only by appointment if you need to review it here with us. Also, all Connecticut's MPO have agreed to include in their public information meeting notice that an opportunity will be given to review and discuss the draft STIP at their public meeting for their tip. Rural Council of Government also will publicize availability of the draft STIP document online for review. CTDOT also holds 2 hybrid public information meetings regarding the draft, which is being held today. That's why you're here. And there will be another one at night. Both meetings are also on Zoom, and pre-registration for the Zoom meeting was required. And registration link was made available via all publications and public announcements. After review and consideration of all public comments and tip endorsements by MPOs, a final version of the STIP will be prepared and submitted to FHWA and FTA for their approval, which normally runs for 3 to 4 weeks. And that concludes the presentation for this afternoon. However, question and answer section starts. You can email your question to dot.stipcomments@ct.gov or by phone 860-594-2040 and leave a voice mail, or by chat via Zoom Q&A, only available during this live Q&A session. You can also visit the project webpage, https://portal.ct.gov/dot STIP. The comment period runs all the way to June 12th. So you have up till June 12th to forward your comments. And as we said, representatives from the operating bureaus are available to answer any question you may have. So the presentation is concluded, but it's open for your questions. Majority of the people here are DOT staff. Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Yes, quick question. Are you maintaining a list related to the STIP for projects that might look to come online after 2030? So the current STIP or current list, I think, extends from, let's say, now till 2030. You have another list that includes, a year or 2 or 3 after that.
Oh, the further after 2030?
Yes.
That is the list projects in there should be in our capital plan. And you can speak to Mr. Darren over there. He can address your question. But the STIP is a only 4-year window. And we have the 5-year, which is illustrative projects, and we call it a future year investment, which shows or lists projects that the department have intention of funding. Now, we list it, doesn't guarantee that it will be funded because it's a pending availability of funds. However, most of the projects that go beyond the 4 years, you'll probably see them in the capital plan, the department capital plan, and it's also on the website. Right, Darren? Yes. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jules Pitt. I'm a Harvard resident. I serve on my local RZ. I was also involved in the served on the committee that drafted the long-term plan. I just have two concerns about less the projects themselves, but more how it's being evaluated in both cases. About two different projects. One is the Route 2 bridge, which makes sense to me in terms of participating in a lot of the public comments about trying to figure out what to do with 84 and 91 and all that kind of thing, whether it's the mobility study or the things that were before that. And I understand what a challenge the 91 and 84 interchange is. And so the idea that this bridge is going to take some demand off of that interchange makes sense to me. I'm just concerned that you might wind up in a induced demand kind of situation whereby the demand is taken away from that interchange, but then in the interchange in Hartford winds up being nonetheless still highly congested, and then when it comes time to figure out what to do with that, we're designing around that level of capacity. But that's my first concern. And then my second concern has to do with the Pulaski Circle project, which I gave a lot of input into during the Greater Hartford Mobility Study. But I'm confused about essentially that this is meant as a more a safety intervention to make the roundabout there, which is insanely dangerous, better. My problem with that was less the aspiration than I guess the reasoning, which is the reason it's dangerous is because the Whitehead Highway is there. And I find it kind of confusing that we're not evaluating whether or not it needs to be there. It's kind of a accidental highway that's kind of left over from 80 years of various destroyed and failed projects. And I'm not sure that it is rational for us to be investing a lot of money into making it safer without evaluating whether or not we can make it safer by eliminating the highway. So those are my two concerns.
We have our bureau chiefs here, and we have some engineers here that can acknowledge the receipt of your concern.
Okay.
And then anyone here? If not, we will.
We'll flag it for the team.
Yes.
Yep.
And somebody definitely will get that. Okay. We still have time for questions. That's what good. I was thinking maybe we addressed your question of.
Yeah, no, so I guess now's the right time. So Hi, my name is Jason LeBlanc. I felt compelled to come here today after looking at a few things and going down the rabbit hole. I submitted questions in writing, but I guess I'll open up to the wider group here. Little background, I live in Cromwell, born and raised in Bristol, extensively traveled through the military and for work, notably back and forth to Honolulu as the program manager for Stanley Black & Decker's platform screen door development team, which we did. That project is going on 20 years now, so I understand a lot of timelines. Originally took some rides, for my daughter to DC and other places. I like the rail, it's comfortable, it's nice, it's relaxing, but when you look at Connecticut and the options for me and other people here, it's pretty much non-existent for a large portion of the state. And looking at the map, it seems like it does a few things well. It moves people through the state and freight through the state well, if you look at the map. And if you're a commuter that wants to go to New York, it seems to do that well, or if you travel on the shore, you have it. But for any other part of the state, central or north, east or west of the state, rail is really not an option. So as an engineer who finds a new toy and wants to see what he can do, I wanted to try and ride other places, but the options are low for that, even in Cromwell. So my ask here today is to look at proposals that'll do a couple of things. One is to increase opportunities for ridership, but also to help address some of the funding concerns that we're currently facing. Slide 53 in the LRTP spells a pretty bleak picture for funding, up to 2055. And the state has taken some steps to address some of the funding. They're seeking alternative funding. They've done fare increases 3 times since 2023. They're also trying to cut some costs. They've reduced service on SLE, but that seems to be a death spiral, right? And they have done some cost cutting measures, changing to diesel from the M8 on the SLE, as well as some cost savings in terms of Astro software and the contract rebid. So there are steps being taken, and I don't want to diminish those, but the one thing I don't see is trying to increase the revenue base by adding rail options in areas where people want to ride it. The two that I would like to ask to be looked at more seriously is one, to have a direct stop at the Bradley Airport. We currently don't have that. I know the Windsor Lock Station is being rebuilt, but there's plans to have a bus transit back and forth, but I just rode that 2 weeks ago myself. And if you have a flight that's before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m., it's really not an option for me and many people because of the bus transfer and other stuff. If I have to drive 15 minutes to the station just to get there, 50 minutes is halfway to the airport for me. So for the 40, 50 bucks, most people will pay the 50 bucks for the convenience, right? But a direct stop at Bradley would be really a game changer in terms of knowing where you're going to get there and how you're going to get there. I know there was a report done by AECOM in 2016 where towns around the airport looked at options. They went through a lot of options, well-written report. Their final top option settled on a line, a separate LRT line from Windsor Locks to the airport. But the costs included additional maintenance and train barn facilities. What wasn't looked at and what I'm asking to be looked at was a direct line off the Hartford line to the airport, right over Route 20. The right of way is already owned. It could be a spur, and it eliminates the need for separate trains and maintenance barns and other stuff, so it might reduce the cost of the project overall. I understand it adds a little bit of travel time, 10 minutes one way plus 5 at the airport, but for people coming from the north or around the south that want to go to the airport, it might entice them to get on the train if they could be dropped off right at the airport. It makes logistics easier. So I'd like to ask that that be looked at or re-looked at, given the changes in ridership on the Hartford line, which has only gone up. 2 would be to, again, look at the corridor between Danbury and Hartford. It baffles me that there's 3 towns of the 7 that are identified in LRTP as the largest population centers. Danbury, Waterbury, and Hartford, but we don't have a rail between them. We have rail in them. Those go south of the city. They don't go between them. And for the amount of cars that travel on 84 each year, which DOT already has data on, it seems like that would be a really good opportunity to increase ridership base and service. Doing those 2 doesn't, and I understand fares only capture 30% of the cost, right, for what the rail system spends, but increasing the rail corridor in 84 doesn't just bring additional fares, it also brings additional economic benefits to the state, because if people can ride in that corridor and avoid the commute, which I did, going to Danbury every day, it's 1 hour grueling commute. It was one of the worst things I had to do for 5 years. So if I could have avoided that, rode a train, I definitely would have. So I know they did a study in 2016 on the Waterbury line extension, but they kind of basically said there was no interest in it, which I think is kind of a self-defeating proposal, because if you don't have rail, and most of Connecticut does not have rail, and you ask someone who doesn't have rail and hasn't had rail their whole life, how would you feel if you could ride the train? They're going to be like, yeah, okay, it's nice, but they know it's not going to happen. But history has shown that if we put rail options in those areas, people will eventually adopt it and use it. And so I think one extending Waterbury through Bristol and into, New Britain would be a big boom, but going from Danbury to Waterbury would connect the dots. Manchester is also another city that was identified. So we don't even have rail to our flagship University of Schools. So those are the two asks I would like the team to look at if they can, is one, to revive those studies. Given the increase in ridership, I know it started to recuperate since COVID, and it's starting to come back, but increasing the revenue base and also the tax revenues for the state might help find other ways to help support and maintain the system, because with what we have now, it's going to be difficult. So just cutting costs and reducing service and the other options we've taken, I don't think they're enough. And so I think he's probably, and not for nothing, if you look at the spending that's been done on the rail system historically, it's predominantly focused on southern shore of the state. And to me, trying to increase or lower the ride time by 10 minutes seems like a point of diminishing returns. That's that. I think we're at the point now where we have to look at the other areas of the state and see how we can bring rail to other parts of the state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any feedback or we just?
Thank you. This is Yuri Kulchis, Assistant Rail Administrator for the Monsoon Rail. So thank you. We do have your comments. We have done previous studies where they will provide responses, but this could also put ABS. And again, it will follow up. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So this concludes our meeting. Do we have any comments online?
We don't, so
No comments?
if you'd like to
Leave
keep it open.
Open till 2 because that's what we designed. So I'm gonna keep it open till 2 for those online. For anyone in here that is visiting us, you could stay and think about any other comments you might have. This is a good opportunity because you have DOT staff from different bureau available to address any question or concern that you might have. So we're gonna be here. They're scheduled to be here to address anything that you might have.